Hollywood's golden age was glitz and glamour on the surface, but beneath the glitter, it was a battlefield. For every dazzling smile that lit up the silver screen, there was a woman fighting tooth and nail against studios' scandals and the suffocating weight of a system built to control her. These 10 actresses didn't just survive Hollywood, they conquered it. Through courage, grit, and sheer defiance, they rewrote what it meant to be a woman in show business. Let's dive into the stories of the 10 toughest actresses in Hollywood history. Number 1, Bette Davis, the queen who refused to bow. When people talk about toughness in old Hollywood, one name rises above all others: Bette Davis. With those bold eyes and razor-sharp wit, she was both feared and revered. Bette wasn't just an actress, she was a force of nature. Known for her fearless roles in films like Jezebel and All About Eve, she shattered the pretty little ingenue mold. Davis refused to play nice or simple. She wanted characters with edges, contradictions, and truth. In 1936, Davis did the unthinkable. She sued Warner Brothers, her own studio, for treating her like property. She wanted the freedom to choose better roles, and though she lost the case, she won something bigger: respect. She became the symbol of creative independence in a system that prized obedience. Her personal life wasn't easier. Feuds with co-stars, broken marriages, and a notorious rivalry with Joan Crawford made her a tabloid favorite. But Bette Davis didn't care about likability, she cared about legacy. In her own words, "If everyone likes you, you're doing something wrong." Bette never stopped fighting and never stopped winning. That's toughness. Number 2, Barbara Stanwyck, Steel Beneath the Smile. Barbara Stanwyck's life could have been a tragedy. Orphaned at 4, she grew up in poverty, clawing her way through life with no safety net and no handouts. But Barbara turned hardship into fuel. By the time she landed in Hollywood, she was unstoppable. In Double Indemnity, she was seductive and lethal, the kind of femme fatale who didn't just manipulate men, she mastered them. On screen, she oozed confidence. Off-screen, she was even tougher. Unlike many stars, Barbara did her own stunts. In the 1930s, she broke bones on set, but never complained. Crew members admired her, not because she acted like a diva, but because she worked harder than anyone else. She once said, "I never learned anything from success. I learned everything from mistakes." Barbara Stanwyck's toughness wasn't loud. It was silent, steady, and unbreakable, forged from a lifetime of surviving when no one expected her to. Number 3, Katharine Hepburn, the rebel with no apologies. When Katharine Hepburn burst onto the screen, Hollywood didn't know what to make of her. She wore pants, refused makeup, and spoke her mind in a world that told women to smile and stay quiet. Her career began with dazzling highs and devastating lows. Early fame with Morning Glory, followed by a string of box office flops that earned her the label box office poison. But Hepburn didn't retreat. She redefined herself. In 1940, she engineered her own comeback with the Philadelphia Story, buying the play's rights herself, a genius move that forced the studios to cast her in the film adaptation. It became one of the most beloved comedies in Hollywood history. Hepburn's toughness wasn't just in business. She lived on her own terms, refusing to conform. Her lifelong partnership with Spencer Tracy was unconventional, passionate, and often tested by Hollywood's gossip machine. But she didn't care. She once said, "If you always do what interests you, at least one person is pleased." And that, in essence, was Katharine Hepburn's rebellion, unapologetic individuality. Number 4, Shirley Temple, the child who outsmarted Hollywood. She was the face that saved an entire industry. During the Great Depression, Shirley Temple's dimples and curls brought hope to millions and box office gold to desperate studios. But behind the smiles, Shirley was living in an adult world that often devoured child stars. She worked grueling hours, performed in demanding roles, and was often surrounded by manipulative adults who saw her as a product, not a person. Yet, Shirley grew up with astonishing clarity and strength. When she retired from acting at 22, everyone assumed her story was over. But Shirley Temple was only getting started. She reinvented herself as Shirley Temple Black, becoming a respected diplomat and U.S. ambassador. She faced sexism, political resistance, and even an assassination attempt, and she handled it with the same poise that once melted hearts on screen. Her transformation from child star to global stateswoman remains one of Hollywood's greatest second acts, a triumph of intelligence, dignity, and resilience. Number 5, Joan Crawford, the survivor who built herself from scratch. Few actresses symbolize ambition and survival like Joan Crawford. She wasn't born into fame. She built it, brick by brick. From a poor Texas childhood to the height of MGM stardom, Joan was driven by an iron will. Crawford knew how to play the game. She reinvented herself constantly, from flapper girl to glamorous leading lady to formidable matriarch in films like Mildred Pierce, which won her an Oscar. But Joan's toughness often came at a price. Her feud with Bette Davis was legendary, fueled by ego, rivalry, and deep insecurity on both sides. Hollywood painted her as cruel, calculating, even monstrous, especially after her daughter's memoir Mommy Dearest. But behind the controversy was a woman who refused to be erased. Crawford once said, "I never go out unless I look like Joan Crawford." That wasn't vanity, it was armor. Her beauty, discipline, and ambition were her shield against a world eager to tear her down. Love her or hate her, Joan Crawford's toughness defined an era. Number 6, Lucille Ball, the comic genius who beat the system. Before I Love Lucy became the most iconic sitcom in history, Lucille Ball was a struggling actress labeled too goofy to be glamorous. Studios dismissed her as a B-list comedienne, but Lucy had a plan. She teamed up with her husband, Desi Arnaz, to create I Love Lucy, a series no studio initially wanted. Together, they pioneered the concept of multi-camera sitcoms filmed before a live audience, a technique still used today. But Lucille's toughness wasn't just creative. When CBS resisted casting Desi, a Cuban musician, as her husband on screen, Lucy fought back and won. She used her popularity to break racial barriers on television. Later, as head of Desilu Productions, she became the first woman to run a major TV studio, producing hits like Star Trek and Mission Impossible. Lucille Ball once said, "I'd rather regret the things I've done than the things I haven't." That fearlessness made her not just funny, but formidable. Number 7, Mercedes McCambridge, the voice of fire. While not as well known as some on this list, Mercedes McCambridge was a powerhouse. She wasn't the glamorous type, she was raw, intense, and fearless. Orson Welles called her the greatest radio actress in the world. McCambridge transitioned from radio to film with an Oscar-winning debut in All the King's Men, 1949. But her real toughness came through personal demons, alcoholism, depression, and a tumultuous life that would have crushed many others. She fought through public scandals, career setbacks, and personal tragedy, including the loss of her son, yet kept working with directors like William Wyler and William Friedkin, who cast her as the demonic voice in The Exorcist. When others hid behind glamour, Mercedes embraced the darkness and turned it into art. Her courage wasn't in surviving fame, it was in surviving herself. Number 8, Hedy Lamarr, the beauty who invented the future. They called her the most beautiful woman in the world, but Hedy Lamarr was far more than a pretty face. Behind that stunning exterior was a brilliant mind that changed history. In the 1940s, while starring in films like Samson and Delilah, Lamarr co-invented frequency-hopping technology, a system designed to protect Allied torpedoes from Nazi interference. Decades later, her invention became the foundation for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Hollywood didn't care about her intellect, they wanted glamour. But Hedy persisted, often working on her inventions late into the night between filming schedules. She once said, "Any girl can be glamorous. All you have to do is stand still and look stupid." That line wasn't vanity, it was rebellion. Lamarr's genius redefined what a Hollywood woman could be. Number 9, Mae West, the woman who dared to talk back. Before there was Madonna or Marilyn, there was Mae West, the original provocateur. She wrote her own plays, defied censors, and turned sexual independence into comedy gold. In 1927, she was jailed for obscenity after her play Sex shocked polite society. But May turned scandal into success. Hollywood couldn't resist her charisma or her courage. Her sharp wit and sultry delivery made her a star. But her real strength lay in her control. She wrote her own dialogue, negotiated her own contracts, and never let the studios dictate her persona. She famously said, "I believe in censorship. I made a fortune out of it." In a world terrified of powerful women, Mae West laughed her way to the bank and rewrote the rules of fame. Number 10, Marilyn Monroe, the vulnerable rebel. To the world, she was the ultimate bombshell, but beneath the glitter, Marilyn Monroe was one of Hollywood's most misunderstood rebels. Born Norma Jean Mortensen, she rose from foster homes and trauma to international fame. Yet behind that luminous smile was a woman constantly fighting to be taken seriously. Marilyn was tired of being typecast as the dumb blonde. In 1955, she founded her own company, Marilyn Monroe Productions, to take control of her career. That bold move changed how actresses negotiated with studios forever. Despite personal struggles, addiction, heartbreak, and relentless scrutiny, she remained dedicated to her craft, studying under Lee Strasberg and pushing for authenticity in her performances. Her death at 36 was tragic, but her legacy endures. Marilyn Monroe's real power wasn't her beauty. It was her determination to be more than what the world allowed her to be. As she once said, "I'm selfish, impatient, and a little insecure. But if you can't handle me at my worst, you sure as hell don't deserve me at my best."